I heard Michael say he would have Bionic 6 ready for Iconicon. Do you think he'll finish before the deadline?
I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
Sadly, holding my breath would pose no threat to me, for this construct in which I am forever bound keeps me breathing whether I want to or not. This prison won't let me die.
When you look back at your childhood, there are the cartoons you remember because you watched them religiously. There are the cartoons you remember avoiding because you had zero interest, and the cartoons you knew must exist because you saw the toys in stores, but you never caught a glimpse of them. But as an adult, I've become aware of another category. Cartoons from the 1980s that had toy lines and everything that I had never heard of, ever. Bionic Six falls into that category, a syndicated 65-episode cartoon with unbelievable animation and an entire toy line from LJN, and I never got wind of it as a kid, not even a hint. To date, Bionic 6 isn't even officially on home video. But this is the 21st century. The past isn't beyond our reach.
We can revisit it. We have the technology.
Bionic 6 landed on USA Network in 1987. Like a lot of 1980s cartoons, it boasted an amazing intro with a great song and stellar animation. Stunning animation, actually. We're all together, we fight for right. Some of the best of its time. Over the course of 65 episodes, viewers got to know the Bennetts, an American family living in a vaguely unspecified 21st century future. The family discovers that the father, Jack, is actually the famed superhero Bionic 1 during an avalanche he causes accidentally when fighting invading aliens that interrupt their family ski vacation. In a race to save his family's lives, Jack and his boss and benefactor, Professor Sharp, give his family members the benefit of bionic technology to make them superhuman. Now, Jack's family joins him on his missions, and of course, Professor Sharp is more than happy to have all six fighting to save the world from Scarab and his minions. Before we really get into the meat of this series, I must mention the quality of the animation of this show one more time. This is arguably the most beautifully animated American cartoon of the 1980s. Clearly animated in Asia, but using what seems to be top-tier talent, this series gives even Galaxy Rangers a run for its money in the animation department. I'm truly stunned by the quality of the imagery in this show.
But let's get back to that avalanche.
While I'm glad the conversion of these people into bionic superhumans is motivated by a life-threatening accident a la $6 Million Man and RoboCop, and not the voluntary mutilation of Silverhawks, the conversion process of putting them into a giant centrifuge that somehow makes them bionic seems a little thin. Professor Sharp is the genius,
Is he though?
behind the technology, and the boss of the Bionic Six at the same time. Imagine if Q and M from James Bond were the same person. That's Sharp.
Officially, Sharp works for the US Defense Department, or something. But you'd never know that from the average episode, nor from his terrible decision-making instincts. He should have been fired or incarcerated decades ago. But we'll get to that a little later.
What makes all of this even more illogical is the fact that Bionic 1 is the world's most famous superhero. Maybe even the only superhero, although that's not specified. His family watches him on the morning news.
Dr. Scarab was forced to flee the United Nations building when Bionic 1 arrived on the scene. Bionic 1's quick action has again saved us all from Scarab's madness.
And yet, despite him not wearing a mask or a helmet, they have no idea their father is the same guy. To make matters worse, the writers didn't even try to give their secret identities any credibility after the family is established. I know the running joke for years has been that a pair of glasses wouldn't hide Clark Kent's true identity as Superman, but at least the creators tried to give him a kind of disguise.
He takes them off when he transforms.
That doesn't make any sense. He wouldn't be able to see.
I never thought any secret identity could be as paper-thin as Prince Adam and He-Man, where the two guys look identical but for He-Man having a tan.
But I was wrong, because Bionic 6 takes secret identity apathy to an entirely new level. The writers don't even try.
This is a family of parents with 2 white biological kids and 2 adopted kids of different races. A 6-person family combo that even in 2021 isn't seen all that often. What I'm driving at here is if the Bionic Six are internationally famous superheroes, and they are, hell, they're even known by time travelers from the future.
You know our secret identities? Where we come from. Everyone knows who you are.
Then their faces being exposed without helmets or masks would make them instantly recognizable as individuals, and especially in a group when in public. There's an episode where the Bennett family is standing on a subway platform in their normal clothes, but always with their faces exposed.
Say, did you hear something?
Nah, that's the subway. They're always working on them.
Lots of people are milling around and no one seems to notice this very distinct family. Scarab shows up and the Bennetts have to turn into the Bionic Six, which really just means allowing their energy bracelets to change their clothes into those yellow bodysuits.
It's Scarab and his men! We've got to stop them!
But how? We can't change here.
Why not? Who'll notice?
Bionics on!
Hey, look! It's the Bionic Six!
Their faces do not change, and yet suddenly everybody is like, look, it's the Bionic Six! Dude, you were standing right next to them on the platform.
Or how about when this female scientist JD has a crush on is at a test site with him, and he has to change into his Bionic Six identity of IQ.
Care to dance, Cuddles?
We've been tricked! But how?
They must have escaped through the doorway and sent in the Bionic Six.
Which is, again, just JD in a gaudy body condom wearing the same glasses and using the same voice and not covering his face. And at the end of the episode, she turns down JD for a date because she prefers IQ?
I asked Denise out for a date.
She turned you down?
Yeah. Looks like there's someone else she's interested in.
Who?
IQ.
It's the same dude! Is everybody in this universe terminally stupid?
I suppose that must be the case, because in one episode, Scarab and his goons crash a party being thrown at the Bennett family home, convinced they'll find the secret identities of the Bionic Six by scanning everyone at the party for bionic tech.
What are we gonna do?
We have to keep our secret identities.
Do they start with the 4 kids that look exactly like the Bionic Six? Nope. They truly suspect any of these kids could be members of the Bionic Six. There comes a point in one episode where the Bennetts find an alien baby on their doorstep, and Scarab sends his cronies in disguised as news reporters to find out what's going on. During their invasive visit, the Bennetts' giant robotic house gorilla named Fluffy interacts with the disguised Scarab agents. Do they happen to notice Fluffy's big Bionic Six chest insignia? No, they do not, despite it being 10 inches from their faces. Do they wonder about how the Bennett family is the same combo of people with identical faces and a giant robot with the Bionic Six logo on its chest? Nope.
This is thin, Riggs. This is very thin.
This is anorexic.
I'm sorry, I just can't reach the bottom of the depths of this narrative lunacy, and I guess it's made me a little edgy.
Speaking of Scarab, let's get back to the origin story, which isn't the first episode, by the way. All of this origin stuff is in episode 10. I often wonder if a producer saw the script for this and realized the world building was so broken he said, maybe we don't explain the origins of the Bennetts and Scarab until the 10th episode after the kids are already set on the hook.
Listen, Mom, being bionic is fan-mega-tastic. But I don't know if I can keep the secret.
I know it's hard, kids. It's just something we'll have to get used to.
Yeah. But while Jack is trying to save his family's lives, Dr. Scarab is using his evil technology to create his cadre of goons from regular disenfranchised people who want to give it back to the man or something.
So, you want comfort, do you? And power and fame? Well, you shall have it.
It's pretty messed up seeing Scarab turn a mousy guy into a hideous, stupid monster that looks like runny cheese, and then admit he messed up the process, which is irreversible, mind you.
Looks like I overdid it a little.
Hail, Scarab!
Or how the cheese monster gets all horny when Scarab creates Madame O.
Hail, Scarab, darling.
There is so much wrong going on here. I guess I should be grateful the animation is impressive.
Dr. Scarab is voiced by a guy doing a very good George C. Scott impression, and it works really well.
Shut up, Glove. At least I'm not named after an article of clothing.
It's one of the best creative choices in the show. Scarab exhibits a dry, sarcastic wit.
How about you, fat man? I detest violence, especially on me.
And has nothing but disdain for his minions, despite being the one who created them.
I'm attractive, I'm vicious, I'm mean, I'm evil. With a perfect match.
Except for one small detail. I don't like you.
Which I would assume is, by extension, a poor reflection on himself. Scarab's roster of minions includes Madame O, who plays an energy harp and always ends her sentences with "darling," which gets old fast.
Oh, don't you just loathe quicksand, darling? Allow me, darling. Whenever you're ready, darling.
There's Mechanic, a really big, really stupid muscle goon dressed like a mechanic. Though his intelligence is so low, I can't imagine him actually being allowed near any machinery.
I wanna go! I'll blast you into dust, you half-human monkey wrench. I don't care! Mechanic, do something! Sure, boss.
There's Glove, who is the Starscream Destro of the group. True to his name, he has a power glove and nothing but contempt for Scarab. Glove's main goal is to usurp Scarab and take over the team.
So what, Scarab? I have better things to do than play stupid games with you and your brother.
And I have better things to do than listen to your whining.
Clunk is the big dumb ape of melting gray mud I mentioned a second ago. Finally, there's Chopper, who sports a motorcycle rider motif, fights with a long chain, and ends all of his statements by making fake motorcycle noises.
Who's gonna protect you?
It's really stupid.
You're right, it's terrible.
Coming up.
If he keeps doing this, I'm gonna scream.
Scarab himself is the coolest of the group character-wise, but all of his George C. Scott cool points are instantly erased when he pulls out a Tinkerbell wand and does a dainty dubbing ceremony to give his new muscle their code names. While we're on the subject of code names, if you think the lack of logic in the Bennett family's secret identities is confusing, brace yourself for the naming structure of these nonsensical heroes. As a regular family, they all have regular names. The parents are Jack and Helen. Their two biological kids are Eric and Meg. Their adopted son is JD, while their foster Japanese son is named Bunji, indicative of his heritage. However, the moment they put on their Bionic Six jumpsuits, they call themselves by their superhero names, as if that really makes a difference when they're not even covering their faces.
But let's just do the list and get it over with. At least the animation is impressive.
The father, Jack, is Bionic 1. Ostensibly, that would mean the rest of the characters would be Bionic 2, Bionic 3, you know, like the Voltron lions.
Nope. We're not watching a logical show that respects even the barest minimum of intelligence. We're watching Bionic 6.
Instead, the mother, Helen, is called Mother 1. Oddly, Jack is not retroactively recode-named Father 1, which would make the most sense. But again, this is Bionic 6. It fancied itself as above any rules. Eric, being obsessed with sports, is called Sport 1. Meg, being fixated on rock music, is called Rock 1. Bunji, being a martial arts student, is called Karate 1. So JD is into what? Well, he likes boxing, so Boxer 1? No. He loves science and he's really smart, so Smart 1? No. JD is simply called IQ.
Because that's how you maintain a pattern. Am I right?
What's more odd is how the bionic powers are applied across the 6 people. The writers attempt to make these characters distinct, but don't think too hard about this unless you want to see the team dynamic just crumble into pieces before your eyes. In the origin story, we see Bionic 1 having superhuman strength and speed, but he also has these laser beam eyes that can do anything the plot needs in that moment, and he has a bionic ear for super hearing. But that's where things get muddy. See, all of the other members of the Bennett family have enhanced strength and speed and hearing as well.
Ultra radical. Bet you didn't know I was that strong.
The only thing they don't seem to have are Jack's laser eyes. Eric has this electromagnetic aura thingy that he can emit from his fists, and true to his code name, he's able to swing any random thing like a baseball bat and hit whatever other thing is coming at him, like an entire asteroid. Yeah, I'm not making that up. I wish I was. His sister Meg has this tech apparatus that seems to be an accessory rather than her actual bionics, that emits sonic waves or whatever. Also, she's really fast, like the Flash. At least, that's what the show tries to sell us on. But again, she's always the fastest until the writers inevitably forget they made all the Bennetts super fast. Take the episode where these aliens are placing bets on who can destroy the Earth, and the Bionic Six challenge them to a series of Olympic Games to save the world. Well, there's a foot race. Wouldn't they have put Rock 1 in that event? Nope. Big Daddy Bionic 1 chooses to do that one. And then there was the thinking challenge. One would expect IQ would be a shoe-in for that one. Who does the Bennett family select? Rock 1. It makes no sense, and it proves that the alleged individual bionic powers don't mean much. Bungie has some powerful legs for bionic karate or something, but he was already a martial arts champion. JD was already a really smart student, so when he goes bionic, he's called IQ, which implies that he gets super smart, I guess? Even though he doesn't need to have his bionics on to be smart enough to work directly with Professor Sharp, so I guess his bionic power is his super strength? Which isn't all that special because we've just established that Bionic 1 is super strong, and Eric can hit an asteroid back into space, and Bungie can kick the world in half or some crap. So if JD was already smart, what does that mean for Helen? Her power is her ESP. Much like Invisible Woman, she can project holographic illusions. She can also trace electronic circuitry, which doesn't seem related to ESP, but I guess we just go with that. My biggest issue with her is the same with JD. ESP doesn't seem like an ability you get through technology and bionics. Does that mean Helen was always clairvoyant prior to the accident and just didn't know it?
There's nothing that really makes any of these characters unique beyond the writers telling us that they're unique and us just taking that at face value.
And that's a trend that plagues much of the show's design. For example, their fleet of fantasy vehicles are all interchangeable. Their big Concorde-style jet is also fully submersible. Their van, motorcycle, and the ATVs have big all-terrain wheels on them. But what's the point when every vehicle can fly?
So when your van can fly, why do you also need a giant jet plane? I guess the van can't also be a submarine, and they needed one of those too.
Bionic 6 really drives home the point that when everyone and everything is special at almost anything, nothing is special and everything is humdrum, except the animation. The format of the show each week is the same without fail. Much like Mask, the Bennett family are trying to live their daily lives, but invariably get pulled away from their normal activities via wristwatch alerts from Professor Sharp, who calls them to his scientific sanctum to give them a mission. The mission is always the same. Dr. Scarab has stolen something, or might steal something, or is planning to upset the balance of power, all in the pursuit of either taking over the world, or destroying it, or achieving immortality, and Sharp wants the Bionic Six to deal with it. So in saving their lives with bionics, Sharp has gained 5 more super soldiers free of charge for his global peacekeeping patrol. And despite them being world famous, they can go to school and out in public without being recognized by a soul. Scarab and his goons are always hiding in plain sight because they have the ability to morph into completely different people. If you see a new or obnoxious side character within the first 10 minutes of an episode, that's one of the Scarab guys. I guarantee it. Of course, the Bionic Six never once get wise to this pattern. They're always figuring things out a day late and a dollar short. Like Skeletor and Cobra Commander, Dr. Scarab's plans are always poorly conceived, his objectives dastardly, and his goons completely inept. His strategy is always the same: disguises, theft, sabotage, fight the Bionic Six, lose, run away. It's so ineffective, repetitive, and stupid that even his minions start mentioning it in the show.
I'm getting tired of these stupid costume parties you call plans, Scarab.
But it wasn't until just over 30 episodes into this series that I realized what was really bothering me about the Bionic Six. I'd seen a lot of dumb stories in this show, but there was nothing plot-wise that was any more or less lame than other cartoons of the period in terms of writing. I'd witnessed portals that brought the dinosaurs back from the past, Eric batting that meteor back into space. I'd witnessed Bionic 1 propose eating the last living example of an endangered species.
And I may have the only surviving Cyclops lobster in existence.
That's nice, honey. We can have it for dinner tomorrow.
Scarab stealing weapons out of Bungie's dreams. Meg having the hots for rock band androids.
Rock 1, why don't you take care of recharging the band?
Come on, guys. There must be an outlet around here somewhere.
The Bennetts turned into drone insects. Professor Sharp blowing up low-income housing with a laser cannon.
Farewell, city slums, farewell. My ultra beam laser has made urban renewal a breeze.
It's a competition where poor shooting means poor housing. Gentrification, new from Milton Bradley. Scarab fanning the flames of a gang war. An episode that totally rips off the movie Murder by Death. Horny computers.
Hello, Cal.
Hello, SPL. Nothing new in Cleveland, but how about you and me connecting more often?
The Bionic Six save a king who'd been turned into a giant frog. Scarab attempting to infest the world with mushrooms. Professor Sharp murdering a chicken on live TV. There was that one when IQ finds a gizmo-like creature in another dimension. Scarab robbing a stagecoach, even though this is the 21st century, but whatever. Scarab torturing a cat and a frog. A hyper-intelligent NASA chimp returning to Earth. Madame O making the entire world love her. And even Scarab stealing Helen in an attempt to make a female version of himself to love him.
What a shame. To waste all that beauty on a bionic bimbo. Well, it won't be wasted for long.
I watched this science fiction show about superheroes position the Bennett family as a too-cool-for-school household of muggle jocks that constantly make fun of intellectuals and nerds.
Well, at least he's not trying to be a superhero anymore.
Yeah, just a super dork.
Including belittling the minority members of their own family.
Autofocus, mini zoom, stereo capability, automatic recording? Too much, isn't it?
So's your enthusiasm.
Well, you know what I always say. If you can't stand the pressure, get out of the ocean.
Karate One's right, in his own strange way. Come on, Sugar Roy. Let's see if the others need help.
That's Sugar Ray.
Whatever.
At one point, Bungie even says out loud that because he's a superhero, getting cats out of trees is beneath him.
Saving a kitty. Some job for a superhero.
The character claims to be a huge movie buff, even doing some of the worst celebrity impressions of all time.
In the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I will be back.
But as a superhero, he believes doing simple things to help common people is a waste of his time? It appears there's one movie Bungie tragically forgot to watch.
Come on. It's all right. Here you go, miss.
Gee, thanks, mister.
Oh. Bye, Frisky. Long now.
All of this is in addition to some rather dated moments of the family in foreign countries.
Start talking sense, Alibaba.
You see only what Aladdin wants you to see.
And some lines that don't age all that well.
That bionic bimbo is right behind us. Looks like you got nailed at home.
You'll get off when I'm ready for you to get off.
I should have known you'd blow it just like a woman.
But when I was about halfway through this series, it really hit me what was wrong. In a two-part episode called Clean Slate, Dr. Scarab manages to erase his own brain. He's now completely at the mercy of Professor Sharp and the Bionic Six. They have him babbling in a chair in Sharp's lab. But what does Sharp do? Does he send him to prison like the war criminal Scarab is? No. Instead, he tries to retrain him to be a good person.
You know, it must be nice living in Never Never Land. Maybe I'll come and visit you sometime when I need a break from reality.
Which of course doesn't work because Scarab is a scumbag, ultimately evil to the core, and gets away again to threaten the Earth a bazillion more times.
But do you know why Professor Sharp didn't send Scarab to prison? Because Dr. Scarab is Professor Sharp's brother.
And that's when it all came into focus for me. Unlike the Super Friends, or Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends, or the Silverhawks, the Bionic Six are not actually there to help humanity and make the world a better place. Professor Sharp is exploiting them to continually clean up the messes his psychotic brother causes. The number of times the Bionic Six could capture Scarab but choose instead to let him run away again is beyond shocking. It would be considered collaborating with the enemy in real-life terms. There comes a point in the series where Scarab just stands still like a statue and hopes the Bionic Six don't notice him. And in another episode, which seems like a brutal self-inflicted testament to the inanity of the series, the characters find themselves in a dimension where Earth is filled with superheroes who let Scarab run away all the time because there are no other villains to fight. Why Scarab even bothers running away from the Bionic Six makes no sense to me. They're never going to incarcerate him, because Professor Sharp won't allow that to happen to his brother. He should just stand there and have a soda with them after he loses. When a US defense director fires Sharp, I wasn't at all surprised. I supported the decision. Too bad the director also turned out to be Scarab.
As far as I'm concerned, Sharp is using the Bennett family for his own self-interest, but on the government dime no less. And he should be tried and imprisoned for willfully endangering society to protect a madman because of nepotism.
This explains how Bungie has come to the twisted belief that he's a superhero who is above helping get cats out of trees. Because when you're Professor Sharp's personal muscle, you're there to protect him and no one else. The series ends with a truly bizarre final story, in which the Bionic Six and Scarab end up in an alternate dimension created by a cartoonist who does Looney Tunes-style animated characters, and everyone ends up looking like animated farces of themselves, in a final bit of misplaced pretentiousness.
For all we know, we're not real. We could be just characters on a cartoon show.
I get that the writers thought that they were being meta and self-aware with this final episode, but the truth of the matter is that Bionic Six is a series with a fatal lack of self-awareness. You have heroes that don't do anything that isn't on their benefactor's very personal agenda. You have superheroes with powers that are almost totally interchangeable with one another, even as the writers claim each character is unique. You have a villain who the writers say is a super genius, while depicting him continually surrounded by buffoons of his own creation, and continuing to try the same failed plans over and over and over again. You have a complete and upfront lack of any attempt by the writers to create believable scenarios for the Bennett family's secret identities, thereby breaking any verisimilitude within this superhero narrative construct.
And did I mention the vehicles that all have tires when they can fly just the same? I did? Okay, good.
Bionic Six is one of those 1980s cartoons that indicates to me why so many of us remember the intros of these shows more than the actual content. Because the intros were so expertly constructed, they conveyed the potential of these properties far better than the actual narrative content managed to deliver. I firmly believe most 1980s kids love what they wished these various shows could be more than what they actually were. It's the echoes of these theme songs bouncing around in their heads more than the facts of the matter. If I had to pick a handful of 1980s cartoons that rose above this trend for varied reasons, it would be Thundar the Barbarian for having the daring to be darker and apocalyptic in an age before toy tie-ins, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe for having the sack to try and teach kids moral decency in a very direct way, the Real Ghostbusters for throwing caution to the wind and committing to scaring the bejesus out of kids, and Robotech for delivering a largely unmodified Macross adaptation with all of the maturity and stakes intact. Sure, there are other cartoons of the period that aspired to greater heights as well, and a good number that at least played within their own rules and created credible narratives without being groundbreaking. But Bionic Six is not among them. It's a show that indexed on stellar visuals over credible writing. I'm certain at this point there's more than a few Bionic Six lovers out there who are ready to accuse me of not watching the entire show. That's the accusation that people levy at me when my critical observations about a cartoon don't align with their love of the series. Well, I hate to wreck your world, but not only did I watch all 65 episodes, I took notes on every single one to make sure I didn't miss anything. I always watch the entire series if I'm reviewing it. I know some people get hurt when somebody says a show they like is stupid, and they lash out with righteous indignation. It's not a crime to like something that's stupid. A lot of people like pop vinyls. I have Blu-ray copies of Ninja 3, Sheena, and Conan the Destroyer in my movie collection. These films are objectively stupid. Liking something stupid doesn't mean you're stupid.
What makes a person stupid is when they deny the stupidity of the stupid things they like, while taking it personally when someone points out those stupid things.
And if you believe that because there are people in the world that like Bionic Six, that any criticism of Bionic Six is taking away their joy, and that I should keep my mouth shut and enjoy their joy of Bionic Six, you're failing to realize that you're stepping on my joy. Because my joy comes from looking critically at toys and media and discussing these ideas in videos. So in the pursuit of protecting everyone's joy, you've just stepped on another person's joy.
Kiff, we have a conundrum.
So, take your own medicine in this moment, because I'm going to enjoy what I'm about to say. And if you come at me for it, it's going to make you a massive hypocrite toward your own worldview. Bionic Six is a stupid show. But hey, at least the animation was great.